Today is Tuesday, January 30th. The Senior Bowl is underway down in Mobile, Alabama. We're here to talk to our Giants beat writer from the New York Post, Paul Schwartz, about Joe Schoen's comments today. Paul, how you doing, man?
I'm good. I've been to the Senior Bowl the last several years. It's been cold. It's been rainy. Um, this so far this year is beautiful. 60, low 60s, no rain, sun. Makes a big difference. You know what I mean? Last year was warm but kind of sticky. It's beautiful weather out here. I watched a little bit of the practices earlier in the day. Got a chance to talk to Joe Schoen a little bit. Yeah, it's part of the evaluation process, right? Off
Yeah.
season, what off season, right? What off season?
Paul, you know it, you know the game, you know how the NFL is. There is no the offseason is always, and there's always stories going around. But
Yeah.
we heard some of the comments today about Joe Schoen. We saw your story today that you wrote about it. The big thing that stood out to a lot of fans seeing and following along with the comments that you guys were reporting was Joe Schoen about that pick at number 6, because Daniel Jones obviously coming off the ACL, torn ACL. There's questions about, are the Giants and Joe Schoen going to pick their own quarterback to develop behind a Daniel Jones after giving him a 4-year deal last offseason? So what did you take away from Joe Schoen's comments about the quarterback position specifically for the draft? And if that pick at number 6 could be a target for the Giants?
Well, I don't think it's so much, Ryan, of their own quarterback. I don't think they went into this whole process thinking, even last year, he's not our guy. Look, let's think at this time last year, right? Exactly 1 year ago, the Giants were coming off a playoff loss. They had won a playoff game. They had a winning record, and Daniel Jones stayed healthy for the whole season and had a good season, right? Won a playoff game. And so they gave him a 4-year contract worth up to $160 million. So that was their stamp of approval, knowing that they could get out of the deal in 2 years with minimal salary cap damage and really get out of it after 3 years with like 11 million of dead money. So that was not bad. But don't forget, why did they give him that money? He had a good year and he stayed healthy. What happened this year? He hurt his neck again for the second time and missed, 3 games and then tore his ACL. So now, and he did not play well in the 6 games that he played.
Right.
But I think the Giants look at that and say, we didn't really give him a chance. Andrew Thomas got hurt in the first game. Saquon got hurt. Saquon Barkley got hurt early in the season. They were overmatched in the beginning of the year, and then he got hurt. So this year now, they have to look at him as a medical risk. They still like the guy. They think he has good football in him, but he is a medical risk. That was not the case last year. So at number 6, will they take a quarterback? I don't know. It is in play, though. It is definitely in play. They're not going to force it. I believe that the top 3 guys, right, Caleb Williams, Derek May, Jaden Daniels, will be gone at number 6. I think they could come off the board 1, 2, 3. If that's the case, is there someone left? Now, it's interesting. At the Senior Bowl now, the Giants can take a look at Bo Nix from Oregon. They can take a look at Michael Penix Jr. from Washington, right here. Another interesting note is Shea Tierney, the Giants quarterbacks coach, is the offensive coordinator for the national team in the Senior Bowl. So he's working hands-on with Penix, Bo Nix, and Sam Hartman from Notre Dame. So they have extra intel on those guys, right? Because, he's in the room with those guys. Would they take one of those guys at number 6? I would highly doubt it. But now you have maneuverability. Are you going to move up into the first round? From the second round, move up late in the first round. It is definitely in play. They are absolutely going to add a quarterback. Are they going to sign one in free agency? Are they going to draft one, on the first or second day of the draft? One of those two things is going to happen.
Well, it's interesting you say that, Paul. They're absolutely going to add a quarterback. Like you said, they are down there. They are getting a firsthand look at some of those senior quarterbacks that you mentioned, Penix and Bo Nix being those big names there. It will be interesting, though, like you said, to Joe Schoen's comments, we'll look at every position and we're going to take a good player at 6. It's a matter of if they value those other quarterbacks that they're getting a look at. Would they be willing to take them at 6? It's a very interesting dynamic we're going to see play out the next couple months here, but leading up to the draft, what do the Giants do there at 6? The other thing I want to talk to you about, Paul, is that the defensive coordinator position still has not been filled out yet since we had the dramatic leave of Wink Martindale. So what is your sense? We heard Joe Schoen say we plan on making a hire by the end of the week. Is that what you expect to happen? And who are the names that we could be looking at here to fill out that Giants defensive coordinator position?
I do. They've talked to 7 or 8 guys. Look, you see what's going on in the league, right? There is turbulence everywhere.
Mm.
You know, offensive coordinators. It seems like half the teams in the league have fired or displaced their offensive coordinator and adding new ones. There are names. It is impossible. It's like follow the bouncing ball. This guy's
Yes.
going here. This guy's going here. This guy's going here. 2 teams still don't even have head coaches, right?
Yep.
Seattle and Washington still don't even have head coaches. So they will need all new staffs with offensive and defensive coordinators as well. I think Denard Wilson, the Ravens defensive backs coach, they've talked to him twice. I think he is, obviously the Ravens season is over. They can hire him at any time. I think he is a strong consideration. Jerome Henderson from their own staff, defensive backs coach. I think he is the one guy in-house they could bring in. 2 guys who have been defensive coordinators in the league, Shane Bowen from the Titans and Derek Ansley from the Chargers. Brian Daboll has spoken to both of them. Bobby Babich was a guy who Brian Daboll knew from Buffalo. He is going to be the Bills' defensive coordinator, so he's off the list. There's a couple of other guys, I guess. Brendan Daly, the linebacker coach of the Chiefs, he's still playing. So he'd be a little more difficult to hire right now, right? I don't think you can do that. There could be some other names that float, but Joe Schoen said by the end of the week, he thinks something will get done. It is the most important position on the staff after Brian Daboll. So it's important to get that right.
And finally, real quick, Paul, just to wrap this all up, is your sense that Mike Kafka will be back as offensive coordinator for the Giants this year, despite him speaking with the Seahawks and other teams about that head coaching position?
Well, I think the Seahawks' interest is real. I don't know why there was so much information coming out that they were going to hire the Cowboys defensive coordinator, Dan Quinn, who had
Yeah.
been their defensive coordinator when they went to the Super Bowl, right? And it hasn't happened yet.
Mhm.
Why hasn't it happened yet? They're just doing their due diligence. At some point, you have to hire somebody, right? You can't keep on interviewing guys. In this day and age now, Ryan, with Zoom, Joe Schoen has said you can interview. You know what? Ryan Sampson. I met him once. Yeah, let's get him up. Yeah, let's talk to him on a Zoom. You just talk to him for an hour or 2 on Zoom, right? That's all you do. And so, of course, if we didn't have this, maybe you wouldn't be texting me all the time for these videos, right? You couldn't do it, right? You'd say, come in the studio. I'd say, I can't. I'm in Mobile, right?
Yeah.
So, right, it's made the world a lot smaller, hasn't it?
Yeah, you're not on a private plane heading into Detroit doing an in-person interview and finding out that coordinator is no longer interested in your head coaching job, right?
That's right. You're not flying him in. You're not flying him out. You just say, yeah, he's an interesting guy. Yeah, send him a Zoom link and we'll talk to him. That's the way it is now. That's why there's so many guys get interviewed for these jobs. But yeah, I mean, if Kafka does not get the Seattle job, I still think I wouldn't say a long shot. I'd be surprised if he gets it. But if he doesn't, the Giants don't in any way, shape at all feel that Mike Kafka is looking to go elsewhere as a offensive coordinator. It's this assumption that Brian Daboll is going to take the play calling away from him. And that's an option, but I don't know if he will. I mean, is there any thought that maybe Mike Kafka is a young offensive coordinator and he's learning on the job and can get better, right? He never called plays in his life before last year. So maybe if you don't have Saquon Barkley and you don't have Andrew Thomas and you don't have Daniel Jones, the play calls don't look as smart, right? When you don't have guys who can throw and block and do all the other things. So, I think Kafka will stay. I think Brian Daboll wants to keep him in the play caller role. Maybe he won't. Brian Daboll was an excellent play caller, so we'll see how that develops. But I think if Kafka's not the Seattle head coach, he will be back definitely as the offensive coordinator. I don't think he's, and don't forget, the Giants don't have to let him go for a lateral position. They can block that move and they want him. So I think they will keep him. Yes.
Very interesting things to develop. See how the Giants obviously fill out that defensive coordinator position, like we said, by the end of the week. And if Mike Kafka ends up returning and staying with the Giants. Paul, we appreciate you giving us some time and just breaking down some of this stuff. And I know you're down there having fun in Mobile, Alabama. Appreciate you as always, man.
All right. Thanks, Ryan.